Well, we begin in North Africa, where there are developments in the investigation on the attack of the U.S. Embassy in Benghazi in Libya on September 11th. United States government sources say they're investigating a suspected Islamic militant under arrest in Tunisia in connection with the attack. And there are conflicting reports that a Libyan militant suspected by Egypt of being involved in the Benghazi assault was killed during a raid by Egyptian security forces in Cairo. For more on the story, we go via Skype now to VOA's Elizabeth Arrott in Cairo. Hello, Elizabeth.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening to you. So if you could just tell us what you know so far about the incident in Egypt.
Well, as you said, as much conflicting information is coming out. And part of the problem is that there's been no formal statement by the Egyptian government. Well, we do know there was a firefight in Egypt yesterday in Nasser City in Cairo, a fairly middle-class area, and one man died. Initially, they said it was an Egyptian. Then it was turned out people off the record have been saying it was a Libyan. And that he had a fair arsenal in his apartment, that he'd been there for 3 months, and there was, again, some conflicting information, whether it was grenades or bombs, but that he was killed in this attack.
Now, let's just turn our attention a little bit to Tunisia. Tunisia claims that it has a Tunisian man in custody, but it has nothing to do with the Benghazi attacks last month. But the U.S. says it is investigating that same suspect, a 28-year-old Al-Ghazi, for that attack. What can you tell us about that?
Again, it's not clear what links there are, if any, and I did mean to say that also about with the suspect in Cairo. There has been no proof of what kind of link, or there's been no even speculation what kind of link he's had to the attack. As for the Tunisian suspect, he'd been arrested in Turkey earlier and then brought back to Tunisia for questioning. Again, there were some American officials off the record saying, it's really too early to come to any true link between this man and various events of the last month.
Now, somebody looking at this whole situation would say that there's almost a scramble to find somebody who can be pinned to what happened in Libya last month. What do you know about where these investigations really stand and who, at the end of the day, could be charged and held accountable?
Well, first of all, I think, yes, there is, certainly in the United States, it's become a very, very big issue. Now, the idea that you get Tunisia and Egypt involved in this starts making one a little bit more, curious, as we hadn't heard anything about third countries involved in the attack. That it seems some kind of effort to show that there is work going on. It's hard, you can never speculate on the motives behind it, but given the sketchy information about both of these cases, it's very hard to come to any hard conclusions that this case is moving forward.
Do you know whether in Egypt in particular there are any efforts to try to pursue and find any suspects in that country?
Well, there's ongoing concerns, especially from Libya itself, because after the revolution there was many, many arms that were sort of outside of anybody's control, and they've been passing through Egypt on their way to Sinai, Egyptian Sinai, and have been used and being accused of being used in attacks against Egyptian forces there, as well as Israel. And so this has been an ongoing concern of ties to Libya and their connections in Egypt. But again, whether this is connected to the Benghazi is far from clear.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much, Elizabeth Arrott, for joining us all the way from Cairo there with that update.